You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband, I don't mean him, though I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording, and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. Well, hello, smart women, and welcome back to the Why Smart Women podcast. This week, I have two of my favourite disinformation fighters on the same call. So it's going to be a very, very exciting little episode today. So I have Dave from the vaccination station. Hey, Dave.
Hi, Annie. Nice to be here.
Very nice to have you. And I have the Snarky Gherkin. Hey, Snarky.
Hi, Annie. Nice to be here. And hi, Dave. Nice to meet you as well.
Oh, of course, that's right. Because even though there was some discussion that you were the same person, I guess
Yes.
this sort of blows that notion out of the water. Hey, Snarky.
That's it. I'm you apparently, Dave. So it's a bit of a surreal experience to be on a call with myself. So yeah, here we are.
Well, I think confusing me with you is a compliment to both of us. So let's take that and run.
Well, I was going to say the same. That's it. Likewise.
So I'll
Yeah.
just explain to the listeners that what happened was the last time I interviewed Snarky, it lit a fire. It lit a fire there in Cookerland. There was some notion that Snarky was Dave, who runs the vaccination station, in fact, in Adelaide. So it's all very confusing. I don't know. They thought they were the same person. So we just thought we'd do an episode just to confuse things further, to show that they are there's two voices to the one person.
Yes. Mind you, the paranoid mindset will just go straight to that this is some sort of advanced AI recording and it's still me or Dave doing both our voices or something. We'll see what they come up with next.
Well, I am incredibly sophisticated with AI and tech. I mean, there's nothing that I can't do. So that wouldn't surprise the listeners at all that I have created this astonishing double doppelganger feel. So what's been happening in Snarky Land?
Oh, a fair bit's happened since we spoke last. Things just move really quickly. So after our previous discussion, there was all sorts of ghosts and ghouls and things came out of the forest to present themselves on the page. Had a few sort of angry substacks written about us, and none of it of any substance or sort of debunking anything we spoke about or any sort of substantiation or evidence. They just attacked us as people. I actually forget the person's name who was sort of writing them, but she was keen to set up a public debate and fly to a chosen place within the country and book out a venue. And it's like, I'm just not interested in creating content. I think at first originally she's like, no, come over to my Substack and reply to me there, because she's wanting to drive traffic to their sort of dead platform by the looks of it. And so as I've declined that, they were keen to do an in-person debate. But again, it's just a spectacle for them.
So I'll just explain to the listeners what happened was I interviewed Snarky about the amount of disinformation that comes out of the anti-vax community and how dangerous it is to public health. It's no joke. The lies that are being told, it is no joke, the effects that it has. I know there's been a death recently of a little girl from influenza B, or was it A? Snarky, do you know?
I think it was influenza A, actually. I recall it because I had it last year. It's nasty.
Yeah, it's nasty. I've had it too, but we were vaccinated. So this disinformation that swamps the internet is no joke. it's malicious and it's very, very dangerous. So Snarky and I had a discussion about that. And then there was a Substack article written about us, which interestingly enough, to Snarky's point, did not debunk any of the health claims that we had made, but simply made attacks on us.
Yeah.
So I have no empathy. I'm horrible. I think I'm really dumb, really, really dumb. And what's your problem? You're malicious, are you? Something? You're a malicious gherkin?
I'm malicious. I stutter. I
Mm.
can't think. I say too much, which is
Yeah,
probably really fair critiques and something I should work on in
yeah,
terms
yeah.
of public speaking.
Mm.
But as I've emphasized, this isn't about me. It's not about my personality. That's why I'm not the front and center of this. It's the content that's king
Mm.
for a lot of what we post and what we discuss and what we delve into. So that sort of all kind of blew up and had weird and wonderful characters come out of the woodwork. A lot of
Yep.
them, I think, are probably just the same people under alt accounts.
I
So
think
it's
they are. I
probably,
definitely think they
yeah,
are. Yeah.
yeah. We had Rosemary Marshall's partner or husband approach the page. He's been quite vicious, or that account has been quite vicious. It's interesting because I've actually had some professional dealings with him in the past,
Oh,
in terms of in relation to some maritime bits and pieces. And
oh.
he's very eloquent, speaks well,
Mm.
quite a knowledgeable person. So I'm not convinced that's him behind that account. I think that
Ah,
I think
interesting.
I think Robert Dross needs to just double check his account details there or his login
Oh,
details. So just thought I'd drop
interesting.
that little one, but yeah.
I
So
think the way this all evolved in the first place was I was down at DY having a perfectly nice walk with my husband and my dogs, and I chanced upon the Forest of the Fallen, which is the laminated pictures of people that are purportedly vaccine injured or dead. And I immediately sent pictures of them to Snarky, who then did his deep dive analysis and worked out that not only were half of them not dead, but the
yeah,
ones that the ones that actually had died, they'd been vaccinated in like March and then had a car accident and died
yeah,
in December, which is it's a long bow. It's a long bow to draw to call that
yeah.
vaccine injured, right?
That's it. So bringing us back, the brain's trust of the freedom movement or whatever they call themselves, they've done a deep dive. They've alleged that I've been about three people
Yeah,
so far.
yeah,
The latest iteration, that is myself being Dave. So
yeah, Dave.
with respect, I wasn't aware who Dave was before that, but I've looked into him, and I'm thankful that they've alleged that, because it's I found someone like-minded, and it's quite impressed with what they do. So
So
yeah,
Dave is awesome. Dave has been running the vaccination station, I think since. Can you explain? I think it's like 2017, 2018, Dave. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm just looking back at my records,
Mm.
which are difficult to date now because I've done so many backups and I've moved I've changed computers a couple of times. But yeah, it was around August 2019. So just before, like half a year before the pandemic, really. So I sort of came onto the scene at
Why
an
did you?
opportune
Why
moment.
did you? Why did you? What prompted you to come onto the scene and become a pro-vax communicator?
Well, I've always been pro-vax myself, but there's one thing that always grates on me is the huge pipeline of misinformation that's constantly spewing from the internet. And when it's just general people having stupid opinions about UFOs and all other kind of paranormal stuff, it's not a big deal. I don't care. They can do what they like with it.
Yeah,
But when it's stuff which has a serious and negative impact on the real world, particularly in areas of public health, to me, that is a major concern. And as a father with two fully vaccinated children and a wife, all of whom I love very much, I feel that is the responsibility of every decent citizen to contribute to
yeah,
public health. As I like to put it, public health is a public responsibility. If you
yeah.
want to opt out, you can buy a private island. But I just think Yeah, I got so tired of seeing it. I decided to start doing it, do something about it. And I thought I need to produce some resources so that I can have ready-made replies to common anti-vax claims and arguments, and then I can share them with people, and then maybe I can find some other people who are doing the same kind of thing and take it from there.
And can
So
I
I
just pause you for a second? So, what are some of these claims that we see put out by the anti-vax community that you counter? What are some of these claims? Because we are very familiar with it because we live and breathe it. But often, like, we talk about things and there's like assumed knowledge. Not everybody's following it. So, what are some of these claims?
The main claims are one, that vaccines are toxic, that they contain toxic ingredients that actually do more harm than good. Two, that this is linked to a general conspiracy amongst big pharma and doctors to keep people sick so that they will keep coming back to doctors, and therefore the doctors and big pharma can make more money. And three, that vaccines are responsible for the rise in chronic illness for autism, a myth obviously cooked up by disgraced ex-doctor Andrew
Andrew Wakefield.
Wakefield,
Yep.
or to give him his full medical title, Andrew Wakefield. And and of course, this is all snowballed. Those are the three most common ones. But the general idea is vaccines are bad, and they will grab onto any argument that they can use to support that claim.
So we've got the three top ones there, which are vaccines are full of toxic substances. I read a lot about the aluminium in it. This appears to be triggering for people.
Yeah, aluminium is probably their favorite go-to because they can classify, they like to talk about it as being a heavy metal. It is not a heavy metal. They like to talk about it as being a metal in vaccines. It's not. The aluminium in vaccines is there in the form of aluminium salts, which is completely different from aluminium the metal. They either don't know or choose not to mention the fact that aluminium is the third most common element in nature. It's around us all the time. We interact with it all the time without knowing it. It's everywhere. We even, eat stuff that's got tiny, tiny, tiny trace amounts of aluminium in it. It's almost impossible not to come into contact with the stuff on a daily basis. You'll even find it sitting in the bottom of rainwater if it's pooled in the
Yeah,
ground and the aluminium
it's
has come up from the earth.
it's
So
sort of like the issue with fluoride in water, whereas fluoride is a
exactly.
naturally occurring substance. And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind crossing back just for that second point you made, which is that vaccines are manufactured by big pharma in order to make you sick, in order that you have to keep going back to the doctor and then getting treated. So I'd just like to go back to Snarky for a minute. So this notion about big pharma being corrupt. I know that you've done some really good analysis, Snarky, on the notion of big vitamin and big supplement and the amount that goes into those sort of industries.
Well, that's right. I mean, just first of all, I think the projection is fabulous because it's like they look at some of these cookers, look at these industries, and it's almost as if that's what they think they do if they were in that position of power. And
Oh,
some do
classic.
when they sell these nonsense things. These, I have a bit of a running meme at the moment. The turmeric enemas. It's the whole premise is to convince that their followers that they're full of toxins and they're full of this and that, and so
Hang on,
they
hang on.
create the need.
Are you actually telling me that there is such a thing as a turmeric enema?
I think there might be. There's a
Oh,
coffee one.
I know there's a coffee
I've
one.
read
They
all
love sticking
sorts.
coffee up their bum.
That's it. That's it. I probably need to steer away from the bum references. I think I've gotten a bit too cozy with that. But yeah. We touched on it the other day on a few posts here and there. It's like and it's difficult to quantify exactly because like how are we drawing? But we're talking like global pharmaceutical industry is worth, I think it's like please don't quote me on this, but
I
it's
won't.
1.3 trillion.
The pharmaceutical industry, let's just say, is 1.3 trillion.
So 1.3 trillion, and I'm happy
Yep.
to be corrected on that. I'm not a spokesperson for Big
Mm.
Pharma, but and looking into the wellness industry, it's worth almost $6.5 trillion. So it's mammoth. There's a lot of people making a lot of money out of this.
And when you say the wellness industry,
mind you,
when you say the wellness industry, is worth maybe $6 trillion. What does that encompass for people that are listening? Like, what are they buying?
So
yeah.
This is where it does get very forms a part of that sort of wellness industry. So, but when I was looking into it, it was mainly supplements that are essentially just fiber that promise all sorts of bits and pieces. It'd be herbal tea that promises. Yeah, and I'm not knocking herbal teas, by the way, but it's just it's the alternative wellness industry is estimated to be worth more than 6 times what the entirety of big pharma. And
yes, so we're looking at supplements.
There's supplements, placebos. Talking, like you've got hucksters, snake oil type stuff. I probably should have been a little bit more prepared.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I might cross to Dave. We're just unpacking when we talk about $6 trillion being earned by the wellness products. What do you think, Dave? What are we talking about?
Well, I actually looked into this because I wanted to break it down into something that was more accessible to people. So people would say, well, how can it possibly be worth that much? So I got some information. I made an infographic on it. The wellness industry actually encompasses 11 sectors. It's very broad. It's one of the reasons it's so big. Because almost anything can be classified under wellness, the sub-industries it covers are extensive. So it's mental wellness, physical activity, wellness real estate, workplace wellness, wellness tourism, spa economy, thermal and mineral springs, healthy eating, nutrition and weight loss, personal care and beauty, and preventative and personalized medicine and public health. It's huge. As you can see, a lot of this simply blends into the recreation and cosmetics field.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You shouldn't be scared of failures. It's something which, as you grow up, you realize that you have more bad days than good days.
Exactly.
Especially as cricket, you are not going to score centuries or 50s every match. There are going to be bad days and you shouldn't be scared of them. You have to accept it. It's going to happen and understand a way or find your own way to overcome it. Never try and copy anyone or anything. Do your own mistakes. Have your own days. Nowadays, because of social media, we start thinking that, oh, she has an amazing life. She has had this. She has done that. But the fact is that everyone's had their own journeys.
Listen to the entire podcast. Live your best life, unscripted.
Okay, so I might hop on a plane and go to a wellness retreat. And when I get to the wellness retreat, I'll be having supplements, I'll be drinking teas, I'll be having breathwork sessions. Yes. Maybe I'll be having some dodgy psychological intervention that's going to cure my depression or my anxiety. So we're going to put all of that into the wellness bucket. Yep.
Yeah, all of that comes out under wellness. And as
I'll come back to you, Snarky.
Even the real estate, because they've found a nice location that's very, very restful and quiet, and it generates a huge amount of money. All of these things are interconnected, and because they can class just about anything as wellness, because the term is enormously flexible, it's not the same as talking about medical treatment, which is a far more specific and difficult term to be loose with. When you use the word wellness, you could mean just about anything. This is one of the reasons they do it. The easiest way to practice medicine while avoiding the legal consequences of practicing medicine without a license is to slap the label wellness on it.
I was because I've written 2 books, and in my first one, Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions, I talked about the fact that all wellness retreats are always set in somewhere that has the word hinterlands in it, right? If you're going to be well, you've got to be in a hinterland, I think. You've got to fly up there, and then you've got to do some yoga, and again, we're looking at some very dangerous practices. I'm an asthmatic, And I've been recommended to do the Pacheco, to go off my meds, which is my Preventer and my Ventolin, and just to attempt to do it through breath work. And I'd be dead, like for sure, if it wasn't for modern medicine. So these things are dangerous. Were you going to say something, Snarky?
I was just going to say, I mean, all these things sound fantastic as well. It sounds lovely. I'd like to come to that retreat and do the breath work, etc.
Welcome.
But it's just a strange, like the way that a lot of the cookers pose this. It's one or the other, and so there's no reason why, and they're certainly not able to replace modern medicine. There's a reason why people from all over the world are keen to come to Western countries to seek that medical treatment over alternative, sort of treatments. But I think, yeah.
What do you mean? It's either one or the other. What do you mean?
Well, I think, from the perspective of a lot of the anti-vaxxers, is that they will insist, well, no, you don't, and even just the example you provided, like, no, you don't need to have your asthma medication anymore. Here's an alternative list of things that you can do that would be just as good. And so I think what normal people do, what the majority of us do, is we actually really enjoy those wellness things, or those,
Sure.
but they're not to replace conventional
I see. Yeah,
medicine. And so that's the premise. It's not necessarily knocking the wellness industry, but it's certainly, like, there's essentially two premises. Is that, a lot of the anti-vaxxers come at this as that big pharma is so giants in the world that, they're so bad, they're so big, and they control governments, they bring governments to heel, and it's just so influential. It's actually not the case. It's not a
no.
It's big, but it's probably the equivalent of a small country's GDP if you added it in that sense. It's not a astronomical. It's not an industry that's worth an astronomical amount. There are alternative industries worth far more, and so I think that's where people get drawn into these multi-level marketing schemes, and
absolutely,
that's it. So I hence just the premise of the meme was that big pharma's big, but actually there's a lot bigger industries that are far more influential and less proven, probably more damaging if not treated with the purpose that they'll set out to be treated with. So,
and I think it's I think, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, is that when you go to a doctor that's actually been trained and you have a condition, they will say, we will try this or we will try that. They're not definitive, and they can't be certain because they understand that illness is complicated. Unlike if you go to an alternate alt med practitioner, they're totally certain it's going to fix it. It's like, you're right, this is totally done, we're there, you just have to take the ashwagandha and your anxiety is going to totally go. And there's that certainty that is very appealing for people because they want to be fixed, right?
That's right. They'll wheel out some dear old love that'll have a testimony that she did this 30 years ago, she was given 6 months to live, and that's right. Or there'll be a video of someone in Bosnia or something that, hey, I took this turmeric enema. Fall back.
Can you
and this
stop
cured
talking
everything.
about turmeric enemas?
I think I probably need to. I think I'm becoming so obsessed. I probably need to try it because I feel like it's the return of the repressed coming out. I reckon. Keep talking about it.
Snarky Gherkin's turmeric enema. I like it.
That's it.
Dave, did you want to say something?
Yeah. Going back to the appeal of alternative medicine and alternative practices, my son actually a few weeks ago said to me, well, Dave, sorry, he didn't call me Dave, he called me Dad. He said, Dad, why do people go to alternative options, these alternative options, if they don't actually work? I said, well, the big thing that a wellness practitioner is selling is not primarily a treatment, because their treatments are largely worthless. They are selling an experience. And here's how it works. If you go to your local GP, you'll go to a large or small medical center that's very professional, but also very clinical, very cold and not very warm and inviting. And you'll see a very busy GP who has to get through at least a certain number of patients every day to make this whole business worth his while, because he's running his own small business and he's attached to to the healthcare center and whatever, and he might have another place that he works at too. He can give you maybe 10 minutes tops. That's all he's got, and he's got to ration his time because he sees a lot of people. And it's a very clinical, ordinary experience. And unless you know this person well, you're not going to be chatting with them very much. And it's just in, out, thank you very much, and that's done. And you feel like a number, and you feel like you've been processed, and you feel like, oh, was that really on it? He just wrote me a script, and I've got the pills, and that's it. I don't know. Somehow that's not enough for me. Then you go to the wellness practitioner. They have a nice, pleasant practice, perhaps at a private residence, a rich
Candles
one,
burning,
usually.
candles.
Yes, there'll be incense, there'll be candles, there'll be soft lighting, there'll be nice mood music. You might be taken to a private back room for your consultation where everything is beautiful and pleasant. The wellness practitioner is charging you an absolute fortune, but they're also giving you a lot of time. Oh, you want 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to talk about what's wrong with you? Absolutely no problem. For $200 an hour, a wellness practitioner will happily listen to all your boring, irrelevant problems and pretend to care about them. Then they will come back to what they're offering, somehow make that relevant, and they will give you an experience that makes you feel something has been changed. You have experienced something, you have felt something. It's not this, and they might give you some, ginkgo and whatever else to take home and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But because you've had this experience, it feels like something has been done, something's been changed, something's been achieved that you won't get from seeing the doctor and actually getting the treatment that you need. And that
Yep.
experience counts for a lot.
It does count for a lot. And I know I was listening to ABC yesterday, and they were talking about the loneliness epidemic. And there's some really good evidence on why loneliness is actually as bad as smoking. And of course, it's to do with the inflammatory response in the body. You're sort of hypervigilant all the time. And and they were saying that GPs are now recommending a dose of socializing, so that it's actually sort of like a prescription for it. And what you're saying fits into that perfectly, because if I'm feeling lonely, I'm frightened by what's going on with me, and what I'm looking for is connection and reassurance and certainty. I'm more likely to find it in a studio that has soft lighting, soft music, and a soft voiced person that will probably hold your hand for a minute and say, look, I know this is really scary, but the ashwagandha or the black cohosh or the whatever else, the turmeric enema, sorry, Snarky, is actually going to fix you. So it sort of makes sense in a way, doesn't it, that we are drawn to it. And the only way we can combat that is find our sense of connection elsewhere, and just try and school people in some critical thinking that this is not the area that you want a soft-handed approach. What you need is someone who's clinical and is going to do some proper medical analysis. And maybe you won't feel great when you walk out, but you actually might have some impact on the condition that you have.
Yeah, agree. I mean, this is in the wake of, in the UK, that poor young girl that died of what is considered to be a pretty treatable cancer, 75% success rate, and
Yeah.
she her mother, being a prominent sort of alternative wellness sort of anti-vax personality, followed whatever protocols that she was pushing, and it's had disastrous consequences on that young woman.
Well, she was having 6 coffee enemas a day, and I'm like, didn't they watch Apple Cider Vinegar, the story of Belle Gibson? That's exactly what happened. They were having coffee enemas. It does my head in, the coffee enemas. Like, who made that up? What even is that? Why would that do anything?
It might go back to that other point though, that from a layman's perspective, it's a little bit of a technical kind of process. There's a machine and there's some pipes and there's, I don't know. It's just sad to see, and
Awful.
yeah, it is, and that's the human consequence behind a lot, and the tragic consequence behind a lot of these. And there's just no accountability either. That mother will just double down in denial, and her followers will insist that no, it wasn't hers. It wasn't her fault. It was for other reasons, and you just see the same playbook over and over again. So
yeah, well, their capacity to post-rationalize is outstanding, right? Absolutely outstanding. And what was the third point that we talked about, Dave, when you were talking about what it is that you fight?
I'm
So the
just
first
trying to remember
one,
now. The first one was the whole toxins
then
and
there was Big
things,
Pharma.
big pharma and collaborating with doctors to
To,
keep you sick, so you'll keep coming back.
mm.
And I think the third one was I
Remember,
wish I'd written
Snarky?
it down.
What's the third
I
reason?
don't recall, I'm afraid.
Was it?
Uh,
We don't have to go back to it. Doesn't matter. We've covered a lot. We've covered a lot of that.
yeah, actually, I was going to make another point
Please do.
about the whole experience thing. Um, from my observation, there's two aspects to wellness. There's the people who have ailments that are either imaginary, like chronic Lyme and Morgellons and stuff like that.
What is Morgellons? I've never heard of it.
Morgellons is a fake medical condition, largely conjured out of the air by conspiracy theorists, in which people believe they have weird fibers growing out of their bodies, and they ended up
Ah,
picking at them and doing quite a lot of damage to themselves in the process.
what
And
the
it's
hell?
closely associated with mental illness, particularly schizophrenia, as you would expect.
Yeah.
So people go to the wellness person for either imaginary ailments that they can be persuaded have been dealt with or at least treated. And
Oh,
of
like
course, the
adrenal
wellness-
fatigue. Adrenal fatigue.
Yes, yeah. So the practitioner will keep them coming back for that as much as possible, or for just minor stuff that's vague and as could be easily settled with a paracetamol or whatever, but in their minds is bigger than it really is. Oh, I've had a lot of brain fog lately.
Oh,
You don't need to
brain
go and
fog.
pay someone $200 an hour for brain fog. Oh, but I've got bloating as well. Well, then check your diet and maybe take a paracetamol and drink some mineral water, burp it out. I mean, some people just aren't using their brains. But so there's that aspect. But then there's the people with who either do have something seriously wrong with them, like they genuinely do have cancer or something serious, or they think they do and they want to see some results. And a coffee enema will give you results that are tangible. They'll make you feel like, oh, I flushed the toxins out. I feel different now. I've flushed stuff out. Or people actually go and look at their stool and they say, oh, look, I can identify the parasites in there that have come out of me. There's a whole subgroups on Facebook for people sharing photos of their stool and claiming that these are the parasites they've managed to cleanse out of themselves. And some of them, with the more aggressive treatments that they're taking, it's actually parts of their stomach lining that they are stripping away that they don't realize. So there are the people who want to see something tangible coming out. So they will do the more drastic treatments that actually produce some kind of reaction. So all of this, obviously, it broadly falls under the placebo effect because you're getting results you think you're getting results when you're actually simply getting unrelated side effects or just peace of mind. But those are both sides of the wellness coin. You're either going with something that isn't really a problem and simply being given stuff to reassure you that it's now no longer a problem or at least manageable, or you do have a problem and you're being given a false treatment that produces results that make you think something has been fixed.
And it's such a good point you make because there is such an elevation of the importance of the way I am feeling. And it's this elevation of feelings and this intuitive, instinctual response that is so elevated and so deeply incorrect because sometimes your intuitions are perfect. Sometimes your instincts are perfect. And sometimes you're just post-rationalizing something that you want to believe. So, and especially this marketing is sold to women of trust your gut, trust your intuition, trust your bloated gut, right? This idea of elevating the way you feel as opposed to using genuine critical thinking is dangerous, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the worst part is that there are plenty of qualified doctors who've gone rogue and become quacks who feed into this and feed off it. So, for example, it might have been. Oh, I don't want to mention the name in case
Don't.
I get it wrong. There's a couple of names it could be. But here's a quote, an actual quote I found from one of these qualified doctors who panders to this kind of stuff. He says, I just listen to my patients and believe what they tell me. That is a direct quote.
Right.
Now, the problems with that should be obvious. As a trained physician, that is not his job. His job is to listen to his patients and then find out what the actual issue is.
Yep.
Listening to your patients and believing what they tell you, well, that's not how you diagnose someone. You check first, you confirm, you find out if they are the correct or not, and you find out if what they are telling you matches the evidence. And if then what they're telling you does not match the evidence, you need to dig a little further and find out whether or not this is actually a real disorder or a factitious disorder.
And did you want to say something about that, Snarky?
I was just going to say, could you imagine playing that scenario in any other situation? So you take your car to a mechanic and the mechanic says, well, I believe what you tell me is wrong with that car. It just doesn't stack up. And, the human body's arguably 1,000 times more complicated than the average car. And it's just, I was just sort of running that in my head. Imagine a mechanic sort of running that line. They'd be out of business pretty quick. So.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that was part one of my conversation with the Snarky Gherkin and Dave from the vaccination station. Tune in to part two to hear how the neo-Nazis are infiltrating the anti-vax freedom movement. It's all a bit scary. See you next week. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together, we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.